Well, the talk has already started here in between the break about whether or not we should let other people verbally discipline our child. And here are the results of our Facebook poll. Is it okay for a friend to verbally discipline your child? 49% say yes, I trust my friends to guide my child as I would. 9% say no, I'm the only one who should reprimand my child. 30% say depends on the situation, like if my child was in danger. And 10% say if the friend is also a parent, then yes, but otherwise no, which I know is a hot topic around here sometimes. My answer was depends on the situation.
Yeah, I'm in that 30%.
And I wouldn't even necessarily put the caveat if they were in danger. If my kid is acting up and needs to be, you know, verbally disciplined, then in some situations, especially if they're really acting a nut, go on ahead and tell them something. Now, make sure you're being reasonable. If you're doing it at the expense of my child because you want to protect yours, then we've got a problem.
Then it's a slippery slope.
Absolutely. What do you guys think?
I think there's, first of all, and if you're friends, hopefully you've already defined this because you're probably similar people. There's a difference between discipline and setting boundaries.
Okay, go ahead. This is good.
That's right. I mean, for discipline for me is that it's going to be a little bit more firm than setting boundaries. Again, I put the real world test to it. If I encountered an adult that was acting like a jerk, or if it was a kid, the real world test applies. It is okay to set boundaries. If you don't stop this behavior, this play date is over. We don't want to spend any more time with you. But to put someone in a timeout or, God forbid, to raise a hand to anybody, then I think that, no, absolutely not okay.
Well, if you're sending your child to somebody else's house and you're not there,
right,
then you are somewhat putting them in charge of your child. Now, I'm very, very picky about who I do that with. And in fact, I have my best friend since we're 9 years old, and he knows he can tell my kids something, you know, because I know him, he's family. But if it's somebody I don't know that well, no, you better tell me and then I'll handle it.
And it was interesting because we had a situation recently where there were 3 little girls playing. One of them actually pushed my daughter into the pool. One of the other moms saw it, and when she asked the little girl, did you push Bryn into the pool? She said, no, I didn't, and the mom had seen it. And the other mom got a little upset that the mom had reprimanded the child about lying and basically saying she had not pushed her into the pool. I mean, I think under those circumstances, I would hope someone would intervene and discipline one of the children. Maybe not mine. Yeah. Maybe it is a double standard.
Well, no, again, that's the situation where there was a child in danger. And, you know, I have no problem with that. But I have a big problem with parents. Maybe it's because my kids are older, too. Again, mine are 10 and 13. But, you know, if my kid is told, you know, to say yes ma'am or sir or hold the door open for that lady, you know what, that's my job. That stuff is my job. So I get really bothered if, I mean, I haven't seen it happen that much.
Sure, and I'd like to know about it, obviously, if you're going to discipline my child or maybe reprimand him for something. Jill, what do you think? Have you had to deal with this?
You know, yeah, it's weird because we're just now getting to the age of play dates and really playing with a lot of friends where parents aren't normally actively involved. At a younger age, we were all sort of right there watching the kids and involved. And, you know, I make it a point when I leave my kids over at a friend's house for a play date to always tell them, if they're acting up, you have my permission to put them in timeout. Now, anything beyond that, I think I would be upset about, but I would definitely want them to, you know, kind of follow the same path that I would if they were at our house. I don't want my children getting away with things at other people's houses that they wouldn't get away with at home.
Well, let's ask Dr. Savinova what he thinks. Noah, I'm going to get this right today. Let's get his thoughts on this situation. Is there a right way to do this? Is it okay to verbally discipline somebody else's child?
You know, I think you guys have touched on all the main issues. You want to keep it reasonable. You know, you don't want to overly aggressively discipline another person's child. But at the same time, sort of as Barb says, I think you need to set limits. And that really, to me, sort of is discipline. You know, because if I'm going to verbally reprimand a child or sort of stop acting up behavior, I expect another parent to do the same with mine as I would with theirs. But it has to be reasonable. I don't want parents being overly aggressive to where they provoke a response from another parent, certainly not raising a hand, certainly not using a technique that the child is not used to or expecting. So kind of, as you guys were saying, giving another parent permission, you know, at the beginning of the play date, letting them know, I'm going to set limits. If I see these kinds of behaviors, here's how I do it. I'm going to inform the child, here's how I do it. I think that's a perfectly reasonable approach to take. I do think, though, that sometimes parents will sort of overstep that by either being overly aggressive with their own values as parents and trying to impose them on others, or sometimes protecting their own child in a situation by disciplining another child. And we really have to be careful about that.
Good tips. You know, something that came up recently on Facebook, you guys, and I quickly get your thoughts on this. Someone said never before has she thought about asking another parent they're sending their kids to a play date at their house if they have guns in the house and whether or not they're put away and loaded. Have you guys had to deal with anything like that?
Yeah.
Is it a question you've asked?
I think
Jill,
I know. Sorry, I know through the course of other conversations where the guns are and where they aren't, and my kids know too. So, but yeah, absolutely.
And would you be offended if someone asked you if their kids were coming over for a play date? Do you have guns in the house?
I would think
are they
it's
put
fabulous.
away?
I think it's great.
Great. What do you think, Jill?
Yeah, I just something that just recently my husband and I have discussed. I think that we should be asking everybody before we send the children over, and that includes our parents as well, and family members that we know have guns in the house to make sure that they're put up.
I think it's important you get to know the family and the parents before you send your children over there, because where do you stop the conversation? Guns, drugs, sex toys. What's your political beliefs? What's your, do you believe in spanking? I think that's why it's so important for you, instead of to just send them over, before you do that for a first play date, go out with the parents, invite the whole family over and get to know them.
Ask them if they have sex toys.
Do you keep
By
those
the
locked
way,
up?
do you
What if they take it the wrong
toys
way?
out on
Like,
the
do
table?
you?
So,
Are you into that?
I invited you here tonight.
And I do find that interesting. I can't tell you how many birthday parties where you send out the invites and parents just drop their kids off and they've never met you before, which trips me out. All right. We also want to remind parents that we have a new show coming up on August 5th. It's called Take Charge Parenting. It's a show that basically helps parents be parents. So make sure you tune in. There'll be a lot more of stuff like this. Well, up next in our special today, we're talking about bath and potty time. Who doesn't want to talk about that? Make sure you log into our Facebook page and let us know your opinion on these topics. We'd love for you to chime in. Come on back.